My dad has been secretly trying to put my little sister up for adoption, so I filed for custody and got him arrested. I found out my dad was secretly trying to put my 12-year-old sister, Emily, up for adoption, and I was not about to let that slide. It didn't hit me at first. My dad's always been a bit of a loner, so I figured he was just grieving after mom passed away. But then, the weird stuff started. He'd lock himself in his office like he was some kind of workaholic, but I knew he wasn't doing anything productive. I swear, I think he was just watching YouTube videos about conspiracy theories and eating leftover pizza. Then there was how he treated Emily. At first, I thought maybe I was just being paranoid, but the more I watched, the more I realized something wasn't right. He'd snap at her for breathing, she'd ask him if he wanted to play a game, and he'd basically roll his eyes and grunt, "Not now, Em." It was like she was an inconvenience, not his daughter. I'm talking full-on cold shoulder. He'd look at her like she was a fly he was trying to swat away. Emily would get upset, and I could see the little cracks forming in her heart, but she didn't say anything, and I wasn't about to let her keep getting hurt. But the moment I realized things were really off, it happened one night when I overheard him talking to someone on the phone. I was just chilling in the kitchen, pretending to study. Who was I kidding? I was scrolling through memes, when I heard my dad's voice. He sounded weirdly serious. So, I snuck over to the hallway and pressed my ear to the door. "Look, I'm done. She's too much work. I'm putting her up for adoption. I've already started the paperwork," he said, like he was talking about sending a broken TV back to Best Buy. My stomach dropped. He was talking about Emily. He was planning to give her away like she was a stray dog or something. I was so mad, I almost kicked down the door, but I had to stop and process what I had just heard. This was my dad. My dad, who used to take me and Emily on ice cream runs every Sunday, and now he was basically saying she wasn't worth his time? I was pissed. I wasn't going to let that slide. I didn't care if he was my dad. That's some next-level garbage. You know when you're so mad you can't even speak? Yeah, that was me. I walked straight into his office like I was on a mission. No fear, no hesitation, just pure rage. "You've got to be kidding me, right?" I snapped, arms crossed. "You're actually trying to give Emily up? Are you insane?" He looked up at me like I had 3 heads, his face a mix of annoyance and confusion. "You don't understand. It's for the best. I'm done with the whole parenting thing." "Ever since your mother died, parenting thing?" I nearly choked. "She's your kid, dude. You don't just quit. You don't get a Parenting for Dummies book and just give up on page 3 because it's too hard." He sighed like I was the one being dramatic. "I don't have the energy for this. I've already made the arrangements." My blood was practically boiling at this point. I couldn't believe he was acting like I was the unreasonable one. "You know what? Screw this. I'm doing what's right, because apparently, you don't care enough to do it." I wasn't about to let him get away with this. I knew I had to act fast, but I also knew I had to be smart. I wasn't exactly a legal expert, but I sure as hell wasn't going to sit back and let him rip my sister away from me. So, I did what any sane person would do. I snooped, big time. While he was out of the house, I went through his emails, his phone, his computer, you name it. I found adoption papers, emails with some adoption agency about placing Emily with a family. My stomach turned. He wasn't even pretending to care. He was planning it like it was a business deal. Not only that, but I found an excessive amount of fraud. It was like hitting a gold mine. After a night of playing detective, I called up a child lawyer I saw on Google and set up a meeting. I told them everything, laid out the paperwork, the secret calls, the emails, the fraud. The lawyer was horrified, and I'm not gonna lie, I kinda enjoyed the look on his face. We filed for full custody the next day. I also reached out to social services, got the ball rolling before my dad could pull any more strings. I wasn't playing around anymore. I had no idea how things would play out, but I wasn't about to back down. The day I walked into the courtroom and saw my dad sitting there, trying to act all cool and collected like he wasn't about to lose everything, I felt this weird mix of anger and satisfaction. When the judge asked if my dad had anything to say, he tried to pull the "I'm just a good dad who wants a break" card, but it wasn't cutting it. I had the paperwork, the receipts, the proof, and when Emily's social worker testified about how he'd been neglecting her, I could practically hear the sound of my dad's world crumbling. And then came the moment I'll never forget, the judge's verdict. "I am granting full custody of Emily to her 18-year-old sister," the judge said, slamming down the gavel. My dad? He just sat there, defeated. I won, and it felt like I could breathe again. The police arrested him right after, and I'll admit that I was kind of enjoying the look on his face when the cuffs went on. But Emily didn't understand. She was scared, confused, asking why her dad was being taken away. It broke my heart, but I stayed strong. I had to. The trial dragged on, but in the end, my dad was convicted of his fraud and child negligence. He had to face the consequences, and I wasn't about to show him any sympathy. Not after everything.